Today it's all about the four horsemen, and I don't mean Arn Anderson, Steve Mongo McMichael, the Crippler Chris Benoit, and Ric Flair. Woo! We're talking cover crops today. When it comes to cover crops, the four horsemen of cover crops for me are fava beans, mustard, daikon radish, and this one right here, vetch. This is the Ric Flair of the cover crops. It's the most flamboyant. It's got the purple flowers. It's got the fluffy leaves like Ric Flair's boas. It's sky reaching, soil diving, nitrogen fixing, purple flower making beauty right here. Vetch, purple vetch exactly is what we have going on here. It's pretty amazing considering it starts at such a small seed and grows to be such a big viney plant. And while these plants don't look huge, they've kind of flopped over like Vlade Divac used to do in the NBA playoffs when he was going up against Shaq, floppy Divac. These things aren't necessarily standing tall, they're flopping over. There's a lot of biomass here. The great thing about vetch, it grew fine over the winter in colder temperatures, it germinated at colder temperatures, and it is fixing nitrogen along the way. When it comes to cover crops, I'm trying to stack functions. I want cover crops that do a wide variety of things. I want cover crops that sink a lot of biomass into the soil. I want cover crops that produce a lot of biomass above soil. I want cover crops that are going to fix nitrogen. Here's your nitrogen fixer. But how do we know it's fixing nitrogen? Let's actually pull out some of this vetch and see if we can find some nodules and then cut those nodules open. So here's some vetch that I just pulled out. And if you look really close, you can see nodules on here. This is where the nitrogen fixation happens. They're really small. Let me see if I can cut one open. I can, but you'll never see it. They are, in fact, pink inside, which tells me that nitrogen fixation is happening. By looking at the roots of this vetch, we can tell that it's working. Nitrogen fixation is happening. Nitrogen is going from the air to the soil. That's because vetch is a legume. And if you forgot, what's a legume again? Legumes like the vetch behind me are a group of plants that form a mutually beneficial relationship with nitrogen-fixing bacteria. The nitrogen-fixing bacteria in the plant work together to both be better off. The nitrogen-fixing bacteria come into the plant and they colonize the roots where they form nodules. It's within those nodules that a beneficial exchange takes place. The plant delivers carbon to the bacteria in the form of sugars, and the plant then receives nitrogen in a form that it can use, NH3, from the bacteria. The bacteria gets food from the plant, and the plant gets food from the bacteria. It's a true win-win. In order for nitrogen to be fixed when you're actually planting vetch, you need to make sure that the right rhizobia bacteria are in the soil when you plant the vetch so they can form that synergistic relationship on the roots. You can't assume they're there. They might be there, but they might not be there. You're going to do that by inoculating the seeds. Now, vetch can be a little tricky to inoculate. I seeded mine using a seeder, not by hand. When you inoculate seeds and you plant them by hand, it's actually really easy. You can kind of be messy about it. But when you're going to run them through a seeder, you need to be clean because things can't be all wet and sticky. This vetch got inoculated and seeded using the Jang seeder about 5 months ago, and it's grown very well. Now it's time to harvest it. I'm going to clean these beds out because I want to get them ready. Tomato season, pepper season's finally here. I need to get these beds cleared. Now, it's pretty nappy in here. It's going to probably be a mess to harvest. My goal is to try and cut these off its surface, but I may end up just pulling a lot of the vetch and putting a lot of the nitrogen into the compost pile. I'm not going to be doing any weighing of this today just because I don't have the time. It takes a lot of time to pull it out and weigh it. So I'm going to take all this out, harvest it, put it into a compost pile using bedding from my chicken coop. I'm not going to show you how to build a compost pile because you know how to do that, but I'm going to do that on one of my lower beds down there to help improve the soil in that lower bed. And we'll see what we get. There we go. Vetch is out. It's in the compost pile. That's working to build soil down there. I tried to leave as much roots as I could up here to still build soil. Now I'm going to cover these beds, leave them tarped because I'm not going to plant them out for a few weeks, and I want to preserve the soil in there. The tarps will also help break down any residual biomass that's still left in that soil. Overall, I can't complain about the Vetch. It was a great performer. Again, not an expensive seed. Inoculating it, pretty easy. We definitely had nitrogen fixation happening. We definitely got a lot of biomass. So overall, it works. One of the keys with Vetch that you're gonna have to remember, and you're gonna have to remember this with all your cover crops, is you want to harvest them before most of them flower. 80% flower is one rule of thumb that I learned from John Jevons. You want to harvest them before they all flower because flowers lead to fruit. And once flowers are happening, fruit production is going to start to begin. In that case, nitrogen is going to be making its way from the soil up to the top of the plant where the fruit is actually produced. If you want to try and keep nitrogen in the soil, then make sure to harvest them before most of your plants flower. In this case, that's what I did. Vetch, the nature boy Ric Flair of my 4 horsemen of cover crops, more than holding their weight when it comes to their time in the ring. If you've grown Vetch, if you have any tips on Vetch, if you have any questions on Vetch, just, leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, please do like it and share the videos with a friend. I'll be back next week with another gardening video. Until then, thanks for watching. Be nice, be thankful, and do the work.
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, woo! Wheeling, dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!